In the last two videos, I talked about feedback. I talked about giving feedback like you really care and receiving feedback like it really matters. I put this all together in something that I call the feedback pledge, which is something that I developed over the last several years. In this video, I'm actually going to take you through the feedback pledge, which, by the way, is available freely for download if you look at the comments below and in the description. If you want to use the feedback pledge and you want to hang it in around your company or organization, I would recommend that you let your people watch this video as well, as this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over the feedback pledge and explain it step by step. If you find value in this video, like this video, subscribe to my channel, get notified when I release new videos just like this. I'm Yoram Solomon, the author of The Book of Trust, and the book series, Can I Trust You? 50 plus 1 habits that will make you a trustworthy salesperson, 67 plus 1 habits that will make you a trustworthy team member, and 70 plus 1 habits that will make you a trustworthy leader. And now for the feedback pledge. Specifically, there is no doubt that getting positive feedback makes you feel so great about yourself. You've done something great. The organization was successful. But when you get this positive feedback, although it reinforces some of the good things that you've done, you are not addressing some of the things that could be done better, some of the things that were not done very well at the first place. The importance of that feedback cannot be underestimated. You need feedback. The organization needs feedback. Other people, your colleagues, need feedback. And so give them feedback and know how to get that feedback. This is something that I remember a vice president of HR once telling us when we did an executive offsite session and had something that we called the hot seat session, in which each one of us executives would have to sit in that hot seat and the others would give us feedback. Well, that feedback was not very comfortable to hear because typically it was pointing out things that I didn't do well. But he made us remember one thing, and that is 10% of what you hear is true. You have to think about that. This is true. You are doing this. But even if you're not, 100% is true in perception, which means that you need to keep in mind that that is how other people see you. Now, you may be fine with, hey, others can see me this way, but at least know that they are and make the decision for yourself. Am I happy with people seeing me like this? Or I want them to see me in a different way. I want their perception to be different. When you are giving feedback, also keep in mind that you're seeing things that are not necessarily true. So when you give that feedback, keep in mind that this is how you perceive things to happen. The other person may know things that you don't. Hopefully you both have the big picture and you both are exposed to similar things, but they might still see things that you don't, and they know things that you don't. So keep in mind when you are giving feedback that what you're telling another person is how you perceive things and position it as such. Don't tell the other person, this is how things are. Tell them, this is how I see things. I remember once I asked my daughter Shira to give me feedback on something, and she gave me feedback. I listened to her, I digested it, I thought about that. I got other feedback from other people as well, and eventually I decided that, you know what? I'm still going to do it the way I did it before. Well, Shira looked at me and said, well, that's the last time I'm ever giving you feedback. When you give feedback to another person, keep in mind that they may not accept it for whatever reason, even just because they're stubborn. They may not accept it, yet it is still worth giving to them. Maybe they don't accept it because they're stubborn, but the next time you're giving the same feedback and the third time you're giving the same feedback, they are going to listen. Finally, it's going to sink in. So even if they don't accept it at all, or they don't accept it the first time, it's still worth giving. I know that you probably always think that giving feedback behind somebody's back is the bad thing, but it really depends on what kind of feedback. I'm also going to tell you next that giving feedback in front of other people is a bad thing. But once again, it depends on what kind of feedback. So I want to separate that. There's good feedback, there's bad feedback. And I'm not talking about the quality of the feedback itself, whether it's feedback about something the other person has done right or well versus feedback that they did not do so well or not right. So when you give positive feedback, share it with as many people as you can. Whether it's in front of the other person or behind their back, they need to hear that you are praising them. They need to feel that you appreciate what they did. And the only way to do it is to do it as often and as soon and as many times as you can, in front of their faces or behind their backs. Both are good for positive feedback. When we talk about constructive feedback, what do we mean? We typically use the phrase constructive feedback to hide the fact that it's negative feedback, that you're giving feedback about something bad, something the other person is doing bad. So we call it constructive feedback, really just to mask it. But in fact, there is such a thing as constructive feedback. Constructive feedback means I'm not going to tell you what you did bad and you did that very, very bad, but I'm going to give it to you in the context of what you're going to do next, in the context of how, if you change it, things will change and will change for the better. So when we talk about giving negative feedback, give it in a constructive way that would help them see how to improve it and what will be the impact of such an improvement. If there is a point in time where the consistency of the words that you choose and your body language, your facial expression, tone of voice, nonverbal communications, that consistency is important the most when you deliver negative feedback. The other person needs to not just know the words that you're using, but really see how you deliver them, really feel the emotion behind it. Getting negative feedback is an emotional moment in somebody's professional life or career. So they are sensitive and they want to see the entire message, which means the words that you use, your tone of voice, and your entire body language, and specifically facial expression. When you deliver negative feedback, try to do it face to face, not over email, not over a text, most likely not over a telephone call either. Taking negative feedback requires an extra effort as opposed to taking positive feedback. Heck, you can give me positive feedback any time of the day, even if I'm asleep. Actually, don't do it when I'm asleep. Do it to my face so I can hear and feel so good about myself. But when you give me negative feedback, I have to be in the state of mind, in the right time, in the right place to receive it. So when you are about to give negative feedback, you have to make sure that the other person is ready to receive it. One of the easiest way to do it is to ask. Just ask them, I have some feedback to get it. Is this a good time and place for you? If they say no, don't give them the feedback right then. That means that they're not ready. When you give me negative feedback, to some extent, I feel ashamed. However, if I'm receptive to it, if I know you, if I trust that you're giving me that feedback to help me, it minimizes that shame that I feel. However, when you do it in front of other people, one is I feel that you're doing it to feel bad and to make me feel small. The second thing, I will feel so much more ashamed because I didn't want the other people to hear that. So when you're giving me feedback, always, negative feedback, always do it only to me without anybody else in the room. Make sure that I'm alone when you give me that feedback and never ever do it in front of other people. Well, if you know me by now, you know what I feel about copying someone on BCC. When you copy someone on BCC, the message you're giving me, when I find out, and I will at some point because somebody is not going to be smart enough and will respond, will do a reply all to a message they were on the BCC on, And then I'm going to know that I can't trust you because you are letting other people know what you're telling me and making sure that I don't know that. So I've put BCC aside. But even on CC, when you are giving me feedback, give it only to me. This goes back to the previous one. Never do it in front of other people. When you're sending me an email chastising me over something, telling me that I've done something wrong, and I see somebody on CC, I don't trust you because, now I feel ashamed because you've exposed something I've done bad to other people, even if they knew that I was doing that. This is a statement that I once saw at one of my daughter's elementary school class wall. There was this slogan, say what you mean what you say, don't be mean when you say it. It's really important that if I have something to say to you, I will say exactly that. I don't have to use bad language or anything. I don't have to yell at you, but I have to say exactly what I mean. And I have to mean exactly what I say. I've seen so many times when somebody said behind another person's back, this is the feedback I'm going to give that person. And then when that person walked in, the feedback that I heard given to them was so different because they didn't want to make him feel bad, or they didn't really want to be the one delivering that bad news or that negative feedback. It is so important when you deliver feedback that you actually say what you mean. Tell them what you really mean. Don't try to beat around the bush. Don't sell them a story. Tell them what you mean. Well, just like I said before, when you give somebody else feedback, they may not accept that it was still worth giving. The same applies to you. If somebody gives you feedback, you don't have to accept it. The fact that they asked you, are you willing, are you ready to get feedback, doesn't mean that you have to accept it. However, acknowledge the fact that the other person gave you feedback. Acknowledge what they said. Sometimes it makes a lot of sense to restate what they said just to make sure that you understood what they said, because maybe they meant something a little different and it just didn't come across because of, guess what, miscommunications. So acknowledge the fact that they gave you feedback. Acknowledge the intention that they had. If I'm going to give you feedback, it makes me feel better that you tell me, this is what I got from you, and I appreciate the fact that you gave me this feedback. Think about me giving you feedback, or you giving me feedback, and I'm going to tell you that, listen, I acknowledge the fact that you gave me this feedback. Here is what I understand. I appreciate the fact that you gave me feedback. Even if I don't accept it, it would help me. That would help you give me feedback more and more, and I need that feedback. So when somebody gives you feedback, acknowledge it and acknowledge a good intention that's behind it. Finally, remember that I told you if you are going to give someone feedback, make sure that they're ready for it. Well, what if I'm about to give you feedback and you're not ready for it? If you're not ready for it, let me know. Tell me, listen, this is not a good time. This is not a good place. Mentally, I'm not at the right place right now to get this feedback. Can we do it at another time? This is so much better than them giving you that feedback and then you exploding all over them, because you will never ever get feedback again. However, if somebody wants to give you feedback and you're not ready and you're telling them, I can't take it right now, I can't take it right here, it is now your responsibility to find the time, to find the place, to go to that other person and ask for that feedback. Because otherwise, once again, you're not going to get feedback again. In the description below or in the comments section, you can find a link to download the feedback pledge free. And once again, if you found value in this video, like it, subscribe to my channel, get notified when I release new videos just like this. The answer to these two questions will have the biggest impact on your personal or professional success or failure. Can I trust you, and can you trust me? If you want to know more, subscribe to our channel or follow us through the links on the right.